Good morning. This is the Innovation Conversation. How you doing, Tom?
Good, Kevin. How are you?
Good to see you. Yeah, I'm doing great. Um, so there was an interesting story that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this week. It was in Forbes and had a headline that I don't think would surprise either of us because we've been saying it for a couple of years now. Um, but the notion that Amazon is losing its focus on frictionless customer experience, which is sort of what we've been saying for a while now, which is that Amazon um, is not prioritizing the notion of a frictionless experiences as much as they used to, and it was interesting. One of the quotes they did, they used Bezos at one point said early on that if when you reduce friction, make something easier, people do more of it. They didn't use the standard line, which we've quoted 1,001 times, which is, Amazon saying, we don't want to sell stuff to people. We just want to make it easier to buy stuff. I think we would both argue that, yeah, they're really trying to sell a lot of stuff these days.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely become more of that. And I know, when we've discussed the challenges to the frictionless shopping, we've tended to focus on the ad network, right? And it used to be, you could navigate through Amazon site pretty quickly, get to the products you definitely want that match your stated desires pretty quickly. And now they've got a fair amount of noise in there with the ad network. Now there's a lot of power in the ad network, and it actually probably does some consumer good as well because it does potentially put some different products in front of folks, and it's a great value proposition for their vendors, and of course great for their shareholders. But definitely as they grow, as they look for more sales and profit levers, the kind of pure ethos of frictionless shopping definitely gets challenged.
What was interesting about the story was that they conflate Amazon and Whole Foods, right? They
Right.
talk about their one entity, which was interesting to me because I think one of the things you and I have talked a lot about over the years is that they act like in some ways they do not connect the way to the degree that they can or even
Or
should.
should or could, right.
They don't feed on each other to any enormous degree, to any degree, actually to any significant degree at all.
Not that we can see as customers.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about that for a long time. I know that they've made management moves over the last few years, couple of years, to try, with common leadership across both, to try to cross-pollinate learnings, and be able to grow and build a more, build a customer experience that ports across the different capabilities more seamlessly. Um, it just looks like from the outside they have such a long way to go
Yeah.
in getting that right.
Although I do think I mean, I don't know if you use the Amazon One, the biometric use of the palm to pay for things. I do, and I love it. I mean, although I ask them all the time when I'm there, how many people use this, and the people who are manning the self checkout generally say, "Oh, not very many." At least, so maybe they're not paying attention. But to me, I think that is a significant move forward in terms of making the the um, the Whole Foods experience more, reducing friction there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a big step forward. I know people that use it tend to be kind of tech forward folks, so early adopters, more kind of,
Of
yeah,
course.
of course, kind of more tech savvy folks. It is a wonderful experience, but people are a lot of people draw the line, when it comes to, using biometrics, right? One thing to, flash your phone or a code that's in your phone or do something in an app. It's another thing when they actually have your handprint,
Yeah.
when they're using your handprint, which is a very unique identifier,
Yeah.
but using it in that way. We see so many places in life now that biometrics are becoming more and more and more, integral, getting through the airport,
Clear.
so many places in life that when you actually do, allow your biometrics to be used, it can be really powerful, but totally, it can be seen as risky. I mean, if there's a hack, and your biometrics are shared, that seems a lot more
Yes.
scary, even than your social security number being shared.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Um, you know, but again, maybe I was primed for it, no pun intended,
Uh-huh.
because of my use of Clear over the years, right? I mean, I was an
Mhm.
early Clear adopter, so I
Oh
had
yeah.
no problem with it. But uh, I think it's important to move beyond Amazon, whatever their issues may be, to suggest to every other retailer on the planet, not named Amazon, that in fact, looking for ways to reduce friction, it ought to be their number one priority. I mean, if Bezos used to talk about how your margin is my opportunity, in fact, if Amazon is shifting priorities, that does create real opportunity for every other retailer to just walk through the store and say, okay, how can we make this easier, more frictionless, more information driven, and more customer centric than Amazon is at the moment because their priorities are elsewhere.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think we've often talked about, you positioning and differentiation for a retailer, and understanding your customer, understanding their and identifying their problems that you can uniquely solve, or you can solve really well, so that they turn to you to solve those problems. If you can then make, okay, I'm solving the right problem with the right solution, and you can make it frictionless, massively powerful, right? And I do think it behooves the retailer to look across their offering, and just look for all the ways you can make it more frictionless, and make it easy, right? Make it easy on folks. Take less time, cause less friction, be less of a pain. Solve their problems and have it feel good doing that.
Right.
Massive opportunity. And whether Amazon has their eye on or off the ball now or not, what we are seeing is that their pace of innovation in the frictionless world has slowed. Um, and that is an opportunity for others to at least catch up, if not surpass,
Right.
where Amazon is. I wouldn't sit back and bank on them, missing the mark for any extended period of time. But use this as an opportunity for sure to close the gap.
Yeah. It's interesting in some ways, there seems to be this ongoing and fairly recent debate about self checkout, right? And to me, in some ways, that's just a distraction, right? Because it allows retailers to focus on something that's not really the point. The point is the checkout experience is generally crappy. You know, the percentage of checkout people in this country in supermarkets who add to the experience is, I would argue, and I don't know how many people would disagree with me on this, is a lot lower than the number of checkout people who add nothing to the experience.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, self-checkout can be problematic. I mean, if you get a glitchy machine, it can be, it happens.
That's
But
friction.
yeah, right. But it's
Yeah.
friction either way. And what they really ought to be saying is, oh, how do we make both better? Right?
Totally.
Hire better people. How do we empower them and maybe incentivize them to, you know, to do better? I mean, to just ask the question, did you find everything you were looking for? Which is not a hard question, but almost nobody asks it.
No, almost nobody asks it, and certainly appreciated as a shopper. And then, wouldn't it be cool if the checker, seen as this value added, element in the experience, could actually capture feedback? So you talked about, surveying and whatnot, and imagine if it was easy with just a couple of keystrokes, for the cashier to, be able to add that feedback, right? Like, I mean, I know it's and maybe with AI, and there'll be an ability for them to actually say into something like
Right.
what they're hearing, and then have that be captured, and then ultimately leveraged. Both back to you specifically as a customer, but then more broadly in the offering.
If if they say to the customer, was there something you were looking for? And the customer says, yeah, I was looking for this, they didn't have it. And they
Mhm.
said, let me write that down, whether either by typing it in, writing it, whatever it is, whatever however the functionality works. And then within 24 hours, that customer, got a text, an email saying, "Hey, we know you were looking for XYZ. Here's the reason we can't get it. Here's the reason, or we're trying to get it. Can we let you know when we get it? Or we just ordered it. We'll have it on Thursday." Oh man, that would be a total game changer. That would be mind blowing.
We always found in the early days of Amazon Fresh, as we were the old Amazon Fresh, as we were building up our assortment, one of our most deepest and positive customer engagements were around, let us know what we don't have that you want to have.
Right.
And then the communication around that. And then as we were getting some of those items in, when demand became more clear, just the customers love to have that input. They love to have that engagement. And, in this case, if it's not something you're ever going to carry, let them know where they can get it from. Even if it's not you, it's risky, but let them know, you can go get this here, or you can order this online here,
Right.
and have it sent. And by the way, here's a coupon, here's $5 off or whatever for you to go do that.
Absolutely.
It's such an important, uh, you know, products, and the availability and access to this products are so important to people.
And you by doing so, you take the friction inherent in not having what the customer wanted and you turn it into a positive experience.
Absolutely.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's costly,
yeah.
on any individual interaction, like the cost and dollars add up quickly on doing that. But I think the ROI, on good execution is far beyond that.
Oh, yeah, because everybody's going to talk about it. But speaking
Yeah.
of exceptional experiences, so we're going to see each other in Vegas in a few days for grocery shop, and
Vegas, baby.
we'll be doing a series of innovation conversations there. Very excited. Um, but the last time you were in Vegas, you went to the Sphere.
I did.
Tell me about that, because I mean, I've not been, and I don't think they have anything going on next week. What was it like?
So I've just been infatuated with this idea of the sphere, just having watched it go up over the last several years. I mean, it was started in 2018. So kind of all during the pandemic, pre, during, and post pandemic, this thing was going up, and you saw the cost on it going up too. I think it was originally supposed to cost $1 billion. It cost almost 3. So it definitely cost a little bit more to build it, but I've just always been, really interested in what this thing's going to become. And then, U2 opened it, right? And so, there's such a progressive, band in their use of sounds, their use of, different effects. And clearly their stage show has always been one of the more advanced, technically advanced stage shows. So they were kind of the perfect band to go in there and open it. We happened to go see Dead and Company, which is the current version of the Grateful Dead. Supposedly we went to their last show. Now they've had a number of tours where it's been their last tour and their last show. And I'm no Deadhead by any stretch, but I like their music. I just thought that would be a really cool venue to go see them in. They have John Mayer's with them now, and so they get pretty cool lineup. And it was a pretty amazing experience. First of all, when you come in, you interact with these like AI robots and whatnot, which is cool. You can talk to them, and it's like a little museum, kind of thing on the way in. But even before you go in, like the exosphere, so the outside of it, it's so high res. It's crazy how high res it is, and and it's made up of these, these pixels are basically these pucks, and they're probably about, I think they're like 8 inches across, the puck, maybe even a little bit less than that, and that's 1 pixel. And the pixels themselves are spaced 8 inches apart on the outside of the sphere. So when you walk up really close to it on the way in, it doesn't look like, you can't see any, when you're really close to it, you can't see any images. You just see these individual lights as you're close to it. And the fact that, they're able to make it be that clear with these things that are 8 inches apart is just crazy.
Could you see, again, it's expensive, obviously, but costs always come down.
Yep.
You see this, I mean, at some point, at least part of the exterior of a store taking on a skin like that, so it could
Totally could.
becomes it becomes it becomes promotional, becomes advertising, it
Yeah.
becomes beckoning, whatever.
Yeah, so the group that did this did a really tall building, I believe in Dubai. And then they did this one, and they're doing some other ones as well. I mean, it really, I mean, you could do displays as they exist today in many places anyway, like stadiums have them and whatnot, right? And I don't think you want to be obnoxious in how you do it, but this idea that you can create this high res image on a surface that isn't flat, was pretty neat. Then you go inside the venue, and it's a concert hall, it's a concert venue. There are no speakers, like there are no stacks of speakers like you would usually see at a concert. The sound is all integrated into the walls. Um, and the way the sound works, it's sophisticated enough that they could actually deliver a presentation in multiple languages where based on your seat, you could hear it in the language you'd want to hear. That's how precise they can target the sound
Oh
in there,
my
which is
God.
insane. Yeah. No, we didn't experience that, but the sound was unbelievable. Um, and you're surrounded by the sound, right? So you don't have this wall of sound that you often get at a concert, which, by the way, is still a really cool experience. But you're surrounded by the sound. It's so crystal clear. It was just so neat. And then inside, the way they do the display inside, and the stage is very small. You can see the performers directly on the stage, but you're almost never looking at them directly because they project them up all around you. You can see them up close. They have just amazing scenes, from, just relative to the song, relative maybe to the period of the band that they are, the songs that they're performing. When we first went in, it looked like you were in this really big warehouse, and it just looked like a bunch of like steel girders and whatnot, and the inside of a warehouse. And then when they started playing one of their songs, the walls of the warehouse kind of opened, and you found yourself sitting in the Haight in San Francisco, the painted lady row houses. You're sitting
Wow.
in front of them, and they're so vivid. You literally feel like you're in the park there. And then, you started to rise up, and you rose up, kind of slowly over the city of San Francisco. So you see the financial district, you see the marina, you see the Golden Gate Bridge, you see the Bay Bridge. You keep going up, 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 up until you end up, like 10 minutes later, you end up in space. And then what was
Do you
really
have a sense?
cool.
Do you have a sense of movement? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. No, you're
if you
holding
had
on to your
vertigo,
seat.
it would be an issue.
Oh, you would need to sit down and close your eyes. Yeah, it was insane. People were like holding onto their seats, like it was crazy. And then when we're way up in space, all of a sudden we got like this for a couple seconds, we heard this rumbling, and then everything shook because the seats are all haptic. And everything shook, and the International Space Station came flying over our head.
Oh my God.
Unexpected. But then they did things like they had you sitting at Red Rocks Amphitheater. So they made the whole thing around you look like you're sitting watching the Dead at Red Rocks. And then they had a scene where you're sitting in a stadium, and everybody in the stadium is the dancing skeletons from the Dead. And you can see like individual skeletons like dancing and interacting with each other.
How did they not use AI to put Jerry Garcia not up there?
Well, they certainly could do that, and that is absolutely something they could do. I mean, I ran track in high school and college, and we used to run meets at Cornell University in this venue called Barton Hall, and that was it was this old, well, it's just an old like armory kind of feeling, old school hall. And apparently, way back in the day, the Dead had a show there that was one of the ones they're known for. I didn't know that. But all of a sudden, we're sitting in Barton Hall, and I'm saying to everybody, "Wait, we're in Barton Hall. How did we get to
I
Barton
know this
Hall?"
place.
And nobody knew it was Barton Hall until eventually, as it went on, and you could see like the Cornell University flags, and so eventually you could tell you were in Barton Hall. It was so realistic. It was just so really cool.
And
And I was
apparently
thinking, oh,
they're
go
going to
ahead.
start doing like wrestling matches.
Well, they did a UFC fight there. Um, the other thing they're doing there now is, so U2 was their first resident there. They actually made an immersive movie, or immersive, I guess you call it a movie, a show, where this would be actually be in Vegas when we're there. Which it's a where you go in and it's basically kind of like you're at the concert, but kind of remastered. And people that were at the show, there's a U2 song Better Than the Real Thing. A lot of people said it's every bit as good as the concert was.
Wow.
That you can do. So you think about, oh, and then the other thing that is really super interesting in this is, to capture the type of imagery that they did for this, they had to invent a whole new type of camera system, super digitized. So like the compute power that's needed to capture these videos, to store these videos and then to render is just so off the hook. It's just so, orders of magnitude past anything you'd think about, as far as terabytes and gigabytes of information, that you have to do that. And, it really to me was just such an embodiment of innovation, right? I mean, concert experiences keep getting better. They're really good. And this was like a total, next generation. I don't think the last generation goes away. I think the traditional concert, the traditional type of venue, is going to thrive for a long time. But what an amazing, new type of experience. The next big residency there that's just starting, I think it might have just kicked off, is the Eagles. They're going to be there for a while, like through January. So they'll be there for a while. And then you can always go and see, they have a Sphere experience, which is like it's kind of a 360-degree kind of, overall sensory experience. And then the YouTube movies there also. So I would highly recommend folks to go check it out. It's cool. And it's just, I think, a great example of getting way outside the box, new type of innovation. And it's a new and exciting way to experience, entertainment that you could experience one way today, in a really new way. And just, I don't know, to me, it's just pretty neat. It just shows, as you're thinking about, retail and other, ways of innovating, like, just don't be constrained. Like, it's really cool.
All right, last quick question, and then we got to go. Our Mets. Now, as people watch, we're recording this on Tuesday. The
Yes.
Mets have not played their first game of the wild card series against the Brewers, so we have no idea what the story is. But man, you got to, in the words of Tug McGraw, you got to believe.
You got to believe. Yeah, no, I mean, let's believe. We're playing baseball in October. That's really good. Yeah, you hope that they don't have the letdown today after the amazing game yesterday. Hopefully they can carry some momentum in, and a win today would be massive. I don't think either of us necessarily expect to win today, but we're going to root hard for it.
There you go. Hey, listen, great to see you. I will see you in a few days in Las Vegas, and we'll do this again there, and we'll do it live. So there you go.
Sounds good. See everyone in Vegas.
Take care. See ya.